put up this thing and we dealt with it. I think it was last Thursday, and I told you we were to deal with it Monday, but time did not permit. And I know the writing is fine, but let me read to you what is there. The scandalous removal of the 3 top officers from Guyana's largest financial institution, the New Building Society, hijacking of the New Building Society. This is a book. It's on Amazon, and I invite you folks who have access to get a copy and to read this book. But for the rest of this morning's session, I am going to explain. We are going to explain what really transpired in this situation. We are going to do so. Just let me 1 moment. Let me pick up this document that I got to read from. Now, this whole thing relates to the a complaint from Mr. Maurice Arjoon, who was the CEO at the New Building Society. He complained to the Ombudsman, who was at the time Justice Winston Moore. And he said, I'm going to read part of the complaint, so bear with me so you can get a full understanding of what this is all about. And the thing says, complaint by Maurice Arjoon to the Ombudsman of Guyana. The written complaint. Mr. Maurice Arjoon made a written complaint dated January 16, 2024 to the office, alleging a multiplicity of wrongdoing, alleging a multiplicity of wrong done to him and 2 senior managers of the New Building Society Limited, NBS. Mr. Arjoon claimed to have been a former Director, Secretary, Chief Executive Officer of the NBS, where he was employed at the management, then executive directorship level for nearly 30 years with an unblemished record until the events complained above. Mr. Arjoon stated, and this is the complaint that he stated, on June 1st, 2007, 2 managers and I were deliberately and maliciously charged for an alleged fraud, which the police and the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, as well as the Board of Directors of MBS knew we did not commit, and which was also confirmed by several investigations at the NBS. After 3.5 years of blatant delay in the criminal court and without providing a shred of evidence of any wrongdoing, my case was finally dismissed, and the managers a year later. Despite the fact that the DPP had stated in a letter to the board that she had strong and compelling evidence against us. This totally untrue statement was subsequently repeated by the DPP to the Chancellor acting. Mr. Arjoon claimed that he brought a proceedings in the High Court against the DPP through the Attorney General alleging malicious prosecution. The proceeding was dismissed by the Honorable Judge. Mr. Arjoon filed an appeal, which is still pending. At that time, it was still pending. The following are excerpts of Mr. Arjoon's complaint. I want you to listen to what Mr. Arjoon complained about. And he's been quoted here. At the time of the trumped-up charge, I was 6 months away from retirement, when I would have been entitled to receive a lucrative monthly pension and substantial benefits. Despite my exemplary performance record with never even a warning letter, and the fact that over 5 months of investigation at the NBS, which the board was fully aware of, and of which never linked me to any wrongdoing whatsoever, the New Building Society Board terminated my service, stating fraud and negligence and serious misconduct, none of which is correct. I believe that an independent investigation will reveal that the persons from the Central Islamic Organization, CIOG, including the DPP, did not want to take action against the perpetrators identified, and that the wrongful charge and subsequent termination of service were instituted to take over the NBS as punishment for certain decisions and or recommendations I made, which was in the interest of the New Building Society, but was deemed unfavorable to the President of Guyana and certain directors of NBS. Based on my own investigation, credible information received, and what has since been officially revealed in court, stated below is a list of persons involved directly or indirectly and their participation in this evil injustice, for which the attachments support the allegation made herein. May I also say that while the NBS is supposed to be a private company, it is run by persons aligned to the government and the Central Islamic Organization of Guyana. This is the complaint. Let me read on. Let me read on, students. In 2006, at an NBS board meeting, 3 directors voted for an investment of $2 billion in the Berbice Bridge, while 3 voted zero investment. I recommended that the directors be guided by the Financial Institution Act in determining the quantum to invest in the Berbice Bridge, to which they all agreed without any objections. Thus, $350 was invested then. Less than 2 hours later, Nanda Gopal telephoned me and said that President Jagdeo did not get the $2 billion for the bridge, and he, President, will, quote, deal with me, end of quote. After the wrongful charge in June 2007, certain directors of the NBS subsequently confided that the president called them to a meeting at the office of the president where the chairman and vice chairman lied that the police said they had evidence against me and the 2 managers. And the president asked the board, why do you have them there then? At this time, and that this is the main reason they agreed to fire us. Further, when written in January 2008 by my spouse, with information attached that the DPP wrongfully charged me and 2 managers, the president quickly confirmed the DPP in our previous acting position. Then amendments to the NBS Act were rushed through Parliament and hastily assented to by the president to make it impossible for NBS members to call special meetings in the event of wrongdoings. In November 2010, before the criminal charges were dismissed, President Jagdeo asked a family member of mine if I was willing to accept full pension and benefits in return for dropping the lawsuit. Given that I was told the civil matter would be drawn out for years, I decided to. And the president arranged for me to meet Dr. Nanda Gopal at the office of the president, who admitted that I did no wrong, and agreed for legal fees to be paid by the New Building Society and that I can get my full pension and benefit. Surprisingly, NBS lawyer Ashton Chase sent a letter advising approximately half my monthly pension and lump sum due, stating it was agreed to after discussion at the highest level. This was refused. In 2007, Dr. Gopal was the vice chairman of New Building Society, as well as the permanent secretary of the office of the president. After the wrongful charge, Police Inspector Wims subsequently said to me that he never had evidence, but it was Gopal and Magdoum who helped the DPP place the trump-up charge against me and 2 managers. Certain NBS directors also subsequently confided that Magdoum and Gopal deceived them into believing that the police had evidence against us, that we were guilty and also negligent. And with the added pressure from President Jagdeo, they were coerced into agreeing to our dismissal. Dr. Ashmi Singh is the Minister of Finance under whose jurisdiction all financial institutions, including the New Building Society, falls. Consequently, a request was made in June 2007 by the 3 victims to conduct an investigation. The letter and attachment, see copy hereunder, referred to the request for investigation, was taken to him by hand by my son and daughter. And before collecting the envelope, Dr. Singh told them, "Let me assure you, your father is absolutely innocent." Weeks later, a team of Bank of Guyana officers conducted an investigation, but I nor the 2 managers were interviewed by them. One of the BOG officials later confided that the BOG report confirmed the innocence of the CEO and 2 managers. However, while the CIOG Muslim involvement was evident, that was not included in the report for fear of retaliation. But Dr. Singh and the governor of the Bank of Guyana were appraised of this fact. Dr. Singh never replied to the letter. Other sources for the bank revealed that the Bank of Guyana report confirmed that the 3 officers were innocent, but they were told to duck the report. I myself subsequently spoke to Dr. Singh about the wrongful charges and the non-payment of my pension benefit. And in response, his response was that he was surprised I did not receive my pension and benefit, but he said, you can hold your head up high. The police file, this is what the police file. The police file revealed that on the 31st of October 2006, one Compton Chase presented a Guyana passport and general powers of attorney to the NBS and made a withdrawal of $15 million from the account of Bibi Shamila Khan. Similar subsequent transactions were made over a period of time, totaling $69 million. Because of the amount involved, the teller had to get the okay from the senior bank staff, Ken Vincent, who examined the documents to verify their authenticity. He took the documents to Mr. Arjoon, the CEO, who instructed Vincent to contact Bibi Khan to verify the withdrawal request and the power of attorney. It was later discovered that the power of attorney and the passport were forged and was an extensive con job. Conclusions. Here what the Ombudsman concluded. This is the last part. In my opinion, it is clear that the senior management of the New Building Society accepted the passport and power of attorney presented by Compton Chase as genuine documents. It is also clear that on that basis, Mr. Ken Vincent accepted the Canadian telephone number supplied by Chase as the telephone number of Bibi Shamila Khan and believed that the person he spoke to by telephone was Bibi Shamila Khan. And hear this, folks. The standard required for conviction of a criminal offense is proof beyond a reasonable doubt for every element of the offense, the act as well as the mental ingredients. Without intending any disrespect to anyone, I would state that carelessness, most species of negligence, foolhardiness, or even stupidity are not the standard of proof of guilt for a criminal offense. I do not hereby state any findings or conclusions that anyone at the NBS should be blamed for any of these. It follows, therefore, that if Mr. Vincent honestly and genuinely believed that he was dealing with Bibi Shamila Khan, his actions cannot be regarded as criminal. And this is a crucial issue that any court would have to grapple with before it could make a finding of guilt. I am therefore at a loss to fathom why the three senior managers were placed before the court before the arrest of the person calling himself Compton Chase. I find in the police file no evidence that would lead any fair-minded person to conclude that any one of the three managers was guilty of fraud. I cannot substitute my judgment for that of the DPP. I also note the constitutional provision that the DPP is subject to no direction of no one. I, however, wrote the DPP a letter dated the 29th of August 2014, which stated, I stated above that it's difficult for me to fathom why the three senior managers were charged in the first place. It is even more difficult for me to understand why fresh charges were instituted against these three managers, Ms. Amrita Prasad, together with Legal and company. After Ashley Legal made a statement to the police naming a person whom he claimed he had assisted in the backtrack business, who appeared to be the mastermind. To rush to the conclusion that the three top managers had orchestrated a massive fraud from the account of a depositor with their own organization is an area that angels would fear to tread. Not to mention that Mr. Arjoon, the CEO, was 6 months away from retirement. The humiliation and trauma suffered by these persons and their families must have taken a toll on their health, not to mention the effects of these events on the morale of the NBS staff. The missing exhibit indicates interference that was highly irregular. The fact that this document was removed from the police file is not surprising. Dr. Ashley Singh, Minister of Finance, has to date not commented on the allegations by Mr. Arjoon that he deliberately suppressed the Bank of Guyana report. I refrain from stating any findings or anything allegedly said by the former President Jacques Dieu. I can only observe that persons who hold high office and are burdened with weighty affairs of state, who are only humans after all, need to be very careful what they say in expressing frustration in the presence of subordinates. And here this part. To those who study English history in high school during the colonial era might recall some outstanding events for which important lessons were taught. The outburst from King Henry II during the 12th century to some of his barons. And King Henry said, "Would someone not rid me of this meddlesome priest?" Impelled a number of barons to murder Archbishop Thomas Becket in Canterbury Cathedral, to the latter regret of the king. Cardinal Wolsey, who had overzealously served the king, King Henry VIII, lamented, "Had I served my God with half the zeal I served my king, he would not in mine age have left me to my enemies." Like Shakespeare play King Henry VIII, Act 3, Scene 2. Underlings sometimes improperly invoke the name or office of the powerful when they seek to oppress others. Folks, I've given you a mouthful there. But this thing is such a serious matter. This man, Maurice Arjoon, and the two other senior members of the New Building Society, and this is what I say, a decision back then was to invest. They want a decision to invest in the the Borbies Bridge. They wanted the bank, New Building Society, to invest $2 billion Guyana dollars. Mr. Arjoon says that he advised them, look, let me follow the law. And based on what the law says, we can only invest $300 and some million. Right? This was communicated to Nanda Gopal, who was the permanent secretary of the office of the president. And he said, Nanda Gopal, tell you the president can deal with you. Jack Dio, he said, president get you $2 billion, we can deal with you. And thereafter, the pressure started. There was this elaborate con job where a man conned the bank and that he had a passport and a power of attorney, and he withdrew $69 million from the account of one of the depositors who resided in Canada somewhere there. Big elaborate con job. And based on that, the people were charged. And it's significant to note that Mr. Arjoon is claiming that while the bank is a New Building Society is private, it is controlled by government officials and persons from the Central Islamic Organization of Guyana, CIOG. Mr. Vincent, in his complaint, there's a letter someplace there, he named them. The man who was at the time, perhaps still is in charge of the CIOG, is the husband of the DPP. It's his name. So I'm not making these things up. I have the letter somewhere where this thing is named. He named this person, Mr. Vincent. And they're saying, if you read further, and I have the report from the entire report I have from the Ombudsman report. You know, I just do my research. I have the report. And let me say it to you here now, students. Anyone who wants a copy of the report, send me your email address, and I will send you a copy of the Ombudsman report with all the attachments. You're going to see what is revealed there. They claim in the thing that the main culprit, the mastermind behind this $69 million fraud, is a man, they claim, who is a Muslim belonging to the CIOG. That is what his claim. It's not me saying so. So ERC is not me saying that. That is contained in the report. The name of the person is mentioned in the report. He's the man who masterminded this big, elaborate con job. They get a man named Chase, and the thing. Elaborate con job. And then, before I bring in Mr. Conway, we have been saying it all along, and the Ombudsman, Justice retired, the late Winston Moore, had to point out to the DPP that even if you're stupid, even if you're negligent, right, that is not the standard for criminal charge. And he's saying that in this case, you have to have, as I say, you have to have two elements for a criminal charge: the actus reus and the mens rea. You have to have the act and the guilty knowledge. And what the Ombudsman is pointed out, that even though the act was there, it was clear that Vincent and Arjoon and these people were conned. So there was never any guilty knowledge of this crime. That is what the report the judge said. And yet still the DPP, as he said, he can't fathom how the DPP in those circumstances would have recommended that these people be charged. And you know, some of the things when you follow it up, I think recently Mr. Arjoon had to go all the way to the CCJ to get his benefit. I understand that the pressure during this time, the man's son died. They think it's too wicked, these people wicked, and then they sit there, they pontificate, they tell you all kind of thing about rule of law and presumption of innocence. They are wicked. They are wicked. And let me say this, I am not superstitious, but I do believe that nothing in this life goes unpaid. And I have said to people repeatedly, I just try to keep a little fit, do a little exercise, try to eat right, follow the doctor's advice, because I want to live to a ripe old age, to sit back and see them people punished, to see many of these people who tell you themselves that they're so religious. They go to the churches, they go to the masjid, they go to the temples, they go to all places of worship, and they prostrate themselves and they pray, and they are wicked more than me and you sinners. They're wicked. And it will not gonna go on, it's not gonna go unpaid. Because even if it's not them, their children or their children would pay. And I would jokingly tell some friend, I would have their own land, and remember like Shadow, I want to see them like Jacob. You know who is Jacob in Shadow's song? They tell me don't walk with Jacob because Jacob does walk and shake up. And I want to see them like Jacob. I want to see them walk and shake up. Let me bring in Mr. Conway, and then I'm going to come back to this issue. See, this is such a disturbing issue. Sorry I had to indulge y'all with this long reading, but I thought that people need to know the full background of this story. Please go ahead.
Another case, of wickedness in high places. I will reiterate some of the things that you mentioned to put things in proper context. Here it was a guy turned up, I think he's some Chase say name, with a power of attorney, passport, to withdraw, I think in the first instance, 15 million Ghana dollars from an account of somebody who was living in Canada. The persons who dealt with him, the first person, could not have approved anything. So they went up the chain of command, and CEO and others did due diligence according to the report. And there was a telephone number for the depositor. They called the number. The person said, yes, everything is okay. That same Chase subsequently cleaned up the account, I think to the tune of 69 million Ghana dollars. It was later discovered that the passport was bogus, the power of attorney was bogus. And as you mentioned, and the real man behind the thing, the real con man behind the thing, was a Muslim, a member of the CIOG. Hope you follow me. And the head of the CIOG, we know who he is, and the head is the husband of the director of public prosecution. Things started happening. Barajagdio wanted $2 billion for the operation, the construction and operation of the Beast River Bridge. The CEO say after research, you could only get 350 million. Nanda Gopalu was a PS officer, the president told the CEO, Jack, they're going to deal with you. And the thing started. Remember the connections? Government, CIOG, DPP. You mentioned, CEO, that the Inspector Wins, and I know Inspector Wins, he was a fraud man or a man fraud investigator. Let me see a fraud investigator at the CID, the main fraud investigator at CID. He died a couple of years ago, I think, after being involved in an accident and prolonged illness. And the issue started. Men were charged. They didn't have the evidence available. They reported to the, he complained to the ombudsman, and the ombudsman said, "You mentioned the words negligence, stupidity, foolhardiness are not standard of proof of criminal offense." Saying, "Hey, you don't get nothing against this man." And further to that, they thief out documents from the file or remove documents from the file, all in an effort to pressure these people because they did not give Bharat the $2 billion for the construction and operation of the bridge. And this is not the only case of this nature that we have. There are several cases. Families were destroyed in this matter. Mention the CEO's son died. Persons had to go to the CCJ to get their money, to get their hard-earned benefits. And all because a private entity is controlled by the CIOG, according to the ombudsman, the government, and the CIOG as direct, I would say, controlling authority over the DPP. Therefore, this happened, shocking, and many other instances like this took place. So, Paul, I am not surprised that these things like this happen and will continue to happen because of the government and political and other connections.
Right. And you know, the Justice Moore, the ombudsman then, actually indicated misconduct by the DPP. That is be saying, you know, and I'm be saying, he said that, let me find the report. He's actually insinuating that the DPP misconducted. I am therefore at a loss to fathom why three senior officers three managers were placed before the court before the arrest of the person called himself Captain Chase. I find in the police file no evidence that would lead any fair-minded person to conclude that any one of the three managers was guilty of fraud. We have the same experience, politically motivated. And I ask the question again. I have lots of lawyers friends. Maybe I have to contact with them. What is the procedure to bring the DPP up before the Judicial Service Commission, which according to the Constitution has jurisdiction to investigate or to discipline the DPP? Because there are many, many instances. This one goes all the way back to when this report, and since then, the pattern has continued. In our case, the magistrate had to remark on the 27th of December last year that there was not an iota of evidence for us to be charged with conspiracy to commit fraud. None. But if you look at the series of events and the time frame of events, they wanted to get rid of us from the Police Service Commission. And I am aware that when that file with us went to the DPP's chambers, the DPP was on leave. Shalimar Aliak SC was on leave. And the people who looked at it saw that there was no evidence. I think they looked at it either a Thursday or a Friday and said that in light of the fact that the DPP will resume on Monday, let's wait for her to make the decision. And therefore, everyone was shocked. That is my report. That is what I got. When the DPP said approved, I know long ago, the very DPP used to write extensively in files to give direction. My information is that in recent times, when you come to this politically motivated matter, all she would write one word, approve, and sign to it. That is what is going on. And it is time that, I don't know if it's the Bar Association, I don't know if the Human Rights Association, I don't know who, but somebody need to carefully examine what the DPP has been doing to people, violating people's rights. violating people's rights. You're charging people. You are there as a gatekeeper, more or less, to see whether there's prima facie evidence for persons to be charged. And no prima facie. Not me saying this, The magistrate in our case said that. Justice Winston Moore, the ombudsman, said it in this case. And this is only two that we mentioned. You remember the DPP had the policeman Eastman before the court for about 6 years on a murder charge, and then inexplicably discontinued the proceedings against him. Remember the matter with that reached all the way to the CCJ with the murder and the quarantine, where the CCJ had to upbraid the chairman, Mr. Sanders. I've been looking at it the other day. Had to upbraid the DPP and cause the law to be changed and remove the authority from the DPP to instruct the magistrate to open a case and to commit the accused person to stand trial. Laws have to be changed, and we still get the person sitting there. The DPP still sits there with all of these things coming up against her. So many cases went to the court, the appeal court, not the appeal, to the high court, and judges have remarked that there's no evidence against people after they spent 3, 4, 5 years in jail. The same DPP instructed fraud charges against Irfan Ali, charge against Nandlal, charge against Ashley Singh, and the same DPP on the change of government withdraw the charges. And you want to tell me we got the people sitting back and allow this to continue to happen? You're not going to take this matter up to the Judicial Service Commission or somewhere? You're not going to do that? That is what is going on. And they talk about the New Building Society. I'm trying to find out who the directors or the board, or the people who comprise the board. Because they are complicit in this too. They are complicit based on Justice Moore's report. They are complicit. And I know that retired Commissioner Floyd McDonald, used to be a member of that board. Perhaps he still is. And the question is perhaps whether he was at that time part of the board, whether he's part of this whole elaborate thing to get rid of these men, all because they did not give Jack Dio his $2 billion for the Bobby's River Bridge. And I let me tell you this too. Man saying the man shoot up people on the Essequibo coast. Video evidence is there. And the DPP decided to withdraw the charge. Video evidence of this shooting is there. And let me put up this thing. The ombudsman, for those of you who don't know, we educate, We teach and we educate. They say the ombudsman of Guyana operates under the act and amendments made in the act. We act on complaints filed in any form or manner against officers or employees of government or any other agency. Our mandate is to protect, guide, and serve. If you have any unresolved complaint or unjust treatment meted out to you by the government agencies or department, we may be able to help. We are free and impartial and based on our decisions on the evidence submitted by both parties. And then you get the contact information here. The office is located at 29 Brigham, Georgetown. That is just in, for those of you who know Georgetown, is in Brigham, east of Camp Street on the northern side. You're going to see a big board there, the Ombudsman. They have their email address. They have their telephone number. I confirmed this morning that there is a Ombudsman. What's the name? I have it written some. Oh, the current Ombudsman is Justice Winston Patterson. Retired Justice Winston Patterson is the current Ombudsman. So, you have to make use of these constitutional bodies. It is there for complaints. So if you have a complaint against government officials, the police, or whoever, you can go to the Ombudsman office there and you can make a complaint. Yeah, I said 29 is 39 Brigham. Thanks, Lado. It's 39 Brigham, Georgetown. That is where the Ombudsman office is located. And they say it's Justice Winston Patterson is the Ombudsman at this state. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to give his closing remarks. And we are going to wind down for today. CC, first of all, the members of the Board of New Building Society, and comment on what was just said.
Okay, I said, over and over again that the DPP is politically inclined, politically controlled. Too many cases, including this current one we're talking, but no evidence available, and the DPP will say charge. Numerous cases going before the magistrate and going in front the High Court and finishing at no case submissions. And the same DPP we find when do recommended who advise charges later on turn back and null pros with no fresh evidence, with no new evidence. Something is really wrong. And as you had indicated, the DPP isn't allowing itself, the office of the DPP. The DPP could be disciplined by the Judicial Service Commission. It's in the Constitution, but I'm not certain what really would trigger it, or I know if certain people have balls to challenge it. It is wrong. It's a breach of the Constitution. And the Constitution said that the office of the DP comes under disciplinary control of the Judicial Service Commission, Paul. Too many cases the DPP said charge and then come back and say null pros. Or said charge and when there is no evidence, as in this current case. It's time that either persons or persons get together and challenge the actions of the DPP and bring the DPP before the Judicial Service Commission. What's to trigger it, I don't know. But it's there in the law that the DPP comes under the disparate control of the Judicial Service Commission. And it's high time that action be taken in that direction.
I agree with you. We have even earlier we lamented the fact that matters before the court are taking so long, right? Because in many cases we can see the court is overburdened with matters that should not get there in the first place. It's a waste of judicial time to have matters put before the court when you know that there's no evidence, just to fulfill perhaps a political desire to see people stigmatized, to get people thrown out of office. You're put before the court, knowing full well at the time when they're placed there, you don't have evidence to convict them. Wickedness. It is wickedness. But it comes all back to what GHK Lal said, that what we have today is not a government, but a gang of gangsters. For the most part, what Guyanese have for leaders today are nothing but out of control lunatics, pathological liars, unreconstructed racists, and political sadists. That is what it says, and this is revealed every day. We see it. Every day we are seeing this. Folks, you would have noted that we didn't have time to touch on the sanction today.